guys, Roxanne here from Tiny Home Living. Well, we are truly overdue for an update. It has been a horrendous couple of weeks and actually a pretty horrendous couple of months. So I thought I would finally get some video done. I'm still uploading stuff from the fall. I'm so far behind because of everything that's been going on. But I thought I would do an update today. It is just a beautiful day. It is 2 degrees, -2 Celsius. You can see the sun is out. The solar panels are charging. I didn't have to clear them off 3 times today. But we are long overdue for an update. And I thought I would do that today because I'm actually in a good mood. The sunshine is helping, the warm weather is helping, and I have stopped crying. So I can actually record something now. Anyhow, let's get started. I should probably have gotten some footage of Hazel. It is about 2 weeks now she's been inside. This is actually the shower stall in the bathroom. And she has been our little indoor chicken for a couple of weeks now. She had bald spots on her wings, as most of them do when they're getting too much attention from the roosters. You can see some of her big feathers are coming back on her back now. Her little bald spots on her wings, her feathers are growing out enough to cover them. Just before the cold snap, I went out, and not only was I already worried about her missing so many feathers, she was drenched. So she must have got knocked into the water. Yes, I've since taken the water out of the coop during the cold weather. But we can't let poor Hazel expire from the cold weather because she's Chris's favorite. You can still see she's got a little bald head, and even her eyebrows are starting to come back. So she's been our indoor chicken for a couple of weeks, and she's getting a lot better. I really think I'm going to keep her until she has more feathers on her back, because I had her segregated with the other hens, a few of the other ones, during the summer, and it just didn't help. She didn't get her feathers back. So I was worried they were never going to grow back. So I was really concerned about that. And when I found her soaking wet, and we knew we had -40 weather coming, I had to bring her in. I went out. Fortunately, I'm always laughing. I never throw anything away. I had that huge box is actually a computer monitor box. That's how old it is. So that was perfect for putting her in. She did try and fly out once, and I kind of hang the bath mat over there so that she can't, get any height. But she's doing really well. She talks to us and chats to us whenever we go in their bathroom. But she's doing really well. There's one other little hen that I'm really worried about. But I did notice one night she was cuddled close to a rooster to keep warm. And it's been a nightmare trying to keep the chicken coop warm too. But that's another debate. I'm not going to get into the whole heat the coop or don't heat the coop debate. Fred and Desi got frostbite on their combs. Fred got it the worst. I have no idea why. Buddy's comb, I think, is just as big, and Buddy barely got any. So I really don't understand why one gets it so bad and the other doesn't. Anyhow, I've been putting some salve on Fred, and a little bit on Desi too. Desi has got some frostbite as well, but his Waddle barely got any frostbite, and Fred's got it really, really bad. So again, I don't understand why one gets it and one doesn't. So, been hard taking care of them too. But let's go outside and see what the girls are doing. This is their first day outside. They were a little hesitant. It's like, well, I don't know about this. But they did come out of the coop. We put some feed on the ground and sunflower seeds on the ground, and they are coming out. Thank goodness, poor things. So let's go outside and have a look around. I have been hauling water in pails from the 20-footer, which is the only water source, because our garden hose system outside, of course, froze up, and I was exhausted from changing out garden hoses anyway. Again, we had the water coming to this building with a garden hose. It was supposed to be temporary because of everything else going on. We didn't get the other tiny house finished and still don't have the water running to there, but that's another story. That's another day. We did get some work done on there, so I'll go out and show you what we've got done out there. I basically bring the water in with the pail. I put it in here and boil it to do the dishes. Yes, it's so much fun. And if that wasn't bad enough, now the drain is frozen going outside, so I have to bail the dirty dishwasher out of the sink outside. Yes, just so much fun. I sure was glad to have my 100 below Sorel boots this past couple of weeks. I don't wear socks with these. You can't because they pull your socks off, but lifesavers. So Chris has got one of these heaters pointed at the drain to see if we can get it to start flowing. And you see, last year we had the tiny house skirted in with straw bales. And that was one more thing we didn't get around to this year. We just stocked up on some gas and propane. Got this feed just before the big freeze. Oh, they've all gone back in. Silly chickens. So we put some food out here. Chris shoveled some snow, and I was using this little buddy heater during the coldest of the weather because we couldn't run the heat lamp. Any eggs for me, you bunch of freeloaders? I'm getting 2 little white eggs, and I think they're from the little white hens. That's the only eggs I've been getting. And I can't honestly fault them, poor babies. It's been a rough go. I need to top up their water. I've just been putting the water in here for a little while, and they drink really a lot right away because they are very thirsty. And look at my poor Fred. Hello, Fred. Give them a side view, sweetie. Yes, you got it pretty bad, didn't you, baby? You're gonna be a goofy looking rooster this summer when it all falls off. Just gonna have a mohawk. And where's Desi? There's Desi. Desi got some too, poor baby. Another thing we wanted to do was get the cardboard off of here, insulate better, and get this plywood on the walls. And that is another thing that didn't get done. I see so many people commenting online about getting caught with their pants down. And boy, oh boy, did we get caught with our pants down. So what I've been doing for showers and running water and everything in the tiny house is we have a bunch of big garden hoses. So I have to hook a thawed garden hose to here and then run it over to the 20-footer where the water comes up from the well. The head is over there, comes up to here. So then I have to attach the other end of the garden hose to here, and this means usually getting a torch and putting the torch on these taps as well. I am trying to get a bunch of laundry done today because the sun is shining. So basically the well pump is in here. I fill these pails. I try to keep them all filled so that if the sun's not shining I don't have to drain the power. And I've been turning the well pump breaker off when I'm not using it. Some friends put some of the solid insulation underneath the batteries. That's another thing we're going to have to change before next winter. Lessons learned. Many, many lessons learned. This heater had gone out, couldn't get it started. You need to keep your batteries warm. So it's been just one thing after another. I just found a bunch of bottles of Pellegrino water on the shelf that had been frozen and broken, so broken glass everywhere in here. Just got that cleaned up. So just clean up everywhere. So many things to get cleaned up. Fortunately, none of my canning got frozen. At least I don't think. Well, the bottom shelf, not sure what's there. Anyway, trying to get laundry done so I have clean bedding. Chris had just put that gray heat tape on this pipe before he was at a commission, but it freezes down here in this corner, of course, because it's closer to the door. This eventually is going to be going in the utility room in the new tiny house, so that will solve that problem. And I'll be able to do laundry with hot water. So one of the other things I have to do is drag the garden hose back into this building to thaw, just so I can drain the water, hook it back up over there, and my goodness, have a shower. So we ran out of firewood. Bob and Rita brought us more firewood. Hopefully that's gonna work over there. So before the big freeze up, Bob got a bunch of friends together. Chris had like the PEX run here for the hot and cold water. He had the plumbing stack coming up, I believe, or coming down, can't remember. So the guys got the shutoffs on. That one too. Got the plumbing in there. We didn't do the tub yet because I have to get these tiles done. It's supposed to go up to like 5 above 0, so I'm hoping I can get the tile saw in the greenhouse and have enough heat in there. There's a plumbing for a flushing toilet if ever needed or wanted in there, so it is capped. They got the, now there's so much stuff in here you can't see, but they got the shutoffs in the back there on the PEX, but we've got Chris needed a couple of pieces to do the trap for the sink, or I think he's got them here, but that didn't get done. So there's just fittings, gas fittings and plumbing fittings everywhere in here, but they got some of the work done in there. The other thing they did was they installed the instant hot water heater on this wall. Now this was a job, it was pretty cold out. So it's coming in from there, from the 20-footer, and then goes along the wall, along here. And this keeps it off the cold floor, going up that high. And then the washer and dryer, Chris got all plumbed in and everything. So he is it will be ready to hook up to the hot water, or the washer and dryer, which will stack here. I wanted to put them side by side, but this freezer's going to have to stay here, and so we're going to have to stack the washer and dryer, but that's okay. So they got the water running to here, got the shutoff down there on the water coming into the building, got shutoffs here for the hot and cold, and so now the next job is going to be to get the gas propane in here to this heater so that we have hot water in this building. And I will have hot water to do laundry, and I will have hot water in the kitchen sink, and it's all got heat tape on it, so it was going to be quicker. Look at this mess. You all know how I can't stand to have stuff on the countertop. Look at this. You can't find any counter space. So you know, I had said to Chris, after we got the containers all moved around, don't waste time trenching from the well to the old tiny house to get water in there, because we're selling it. So just concentrate on getting the water, the plumbing and everything to here, because you can see the 20-footer there. So that's the one I was just in that has the batteries, the well pump and everything. So it just has a little piece of pipe coming, you can see it there, from there into this building down there, that has heat tape on it, and then we're good to go in here, right? So to me it made more sense to work on getting this one done. It made sense at the time. That's where we were left with kind of everything half done. I don't know where to start now. We were working on the greenhouse into October, and then November wasn't good. I've been saying for at least a year and a half that Chris, all he wants to do is sleep. And I'm always telling him, like, if you need to sleep, sleep. Your body's telling you you need to sleep. So anyway, November things got kind of rough, and then he went for a lung test So they tested his lungs, got in pretty quickly, which was really surprising. Didn't expect to do that till after Christmas. Got in November. So he was diagnosed as asthmatic. There was absolutely no question in my mind that was not right. He was not asthmatic. No question. 100% he's not asthmatic. Battery died. So as I was saying, he had a large blood clot in his lung. Who knows if there's more blood clots? They don't check. They just put you on blood thinners. So you could have 10 blood clots and they're not even checking for that. They just put you on blood thinners. So they didn't even want him to go to the bathroom for fear of dislodging this blood clot. So they couldn't shock him to get his heart in rhythm. So he was admitted, he was in a hospital for 10 days, and they sent him home December 13th. Said he was no longer in AFib. Again, I knew 100% that was not true. He was stuck in AFib still. They gave him medication that wasn't working, but you can't kick somebody out of a hospital bed if they're on intravenous. So he had to be put on the pills in order to get him out of the hospital bed, which is what they did. So brought him home. Nothing's working. Water pills aren't working. He can't breathe. He can't sleep. I'm trying to think of dates. December 20th, he had an echo. Before we even got home, the doctor in the closest town here called and said, you need to get to one of the big hospitals in the city because they have the equipment to do more testing. His echo looks really bad. So that was upsetting and scary. So the next day we went to one of the big hospitals in the city, and they acted like we were insane. Why are you here? Blah, blah, blah. Had to go through the whole thing. Like, they can look in the computer and see all the information, but they spent hours asking us the same silly questions. I think we were there 13 hours, so got to see what was going on in the emergency room. Wow. I won't even get into that. Anyway, so after 13 hours, we were sent home with water pills. I don't think he was on the water pills before that. Blood thinners, but not water pills. So now he's on water pills. So they just keep throwing more medication at him. So that was December 21st. He's on water pills. He's still puffing up like a balloon. Swollen. His feet were ice cold. I was putting down booties on his feet at night. He was freezing all the time. Still couldn't breathe. His tummy was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And yet his arms were skin and bones. So I think it was the 10th of January. Well, first of all, he had 2 phone appointments, because apparently cardiologists can heal you over the phone now. So one doctor didn't even bother calling. The other one had an intern call and do a survey. Like, basically ask you all the same questions. They're reading the computer. They have the information and they're asking you the same stupid questions. So the next day, which I believe was the 11th, it was a Friday, 12th maybe, 12th of January, we went to see the cardiologist. By this time I have like zero hope or faith that these people are going to do anything. The nurse, the male nurse that brought us into the room said, oh, we were really worried. This was the first cold day of this cold spell. And he said, we were really worried about whether you're going to make it, you know, with the weather and everything. And so they were concerned that Chris was even going to show up. Meanwhile, backtrack, the generator wouldn't start. So we couldn't charge the solar batteries. We needed to keep the batteries warm. We had run out of propane, which never ever happens. Chris never lets it go below 10%. He calls, they come the same day. We ran out of propane completely. We have no heat. It's 40 below. The water was frozen up even in the 20-footer, and the truck was frozen solid. 2 new batteries wouldn't start. And Chris's appointment is at 11 in the morning. This is about 9:30 in the morning. So Chris is going to call and cancel the appointment because he thinks it's just going to be another waste of time anyway. But I called our neighbor Bob, and he came right away, got us to the city to Chris's appointment with 10 minutes to spare. So anyway, back to the doctor's office. The doctor comes in, he says, wow, you know, I got you in here as quick as I could when I saw your... Not sure why the camera went off that time. Maybe I'm just talking too much. I don't know. So anyway, what the goal was to get the fluid drained and then shock his heart back into rhythm, and hopefully it would stay in rhythm. But after 2 or 3 days of them postponing it, they then said that his heart was too weak to shock it, and they thought it might do more harm than good. My translation, this is just my opinion, is, wow, we sent you home almost dead, and now you're even closer to dead, so there's been too much damage done to your heart since December, and we don't dare shock your heart now because there's been so much damage done, and you're in such bad shape. So they didn't shock his heart. So he is still in AFib. He's on 8 new medications, and he's feeling much, much better. He lost about 14 pounds of fluids between the Friday appointment and Monday when I saw him. That's a lot of fluid. So all total, he's down about 30 pounds now that he's sort of not carrying fluids. So he's down about 30 pounds too, just skin and bones, and still stuck in AFib. So we have a follow-up appointment on February 6th. And we'll see what happens. Like, I have questions now. Of course, I didn't get to ask the doctor questions because, you know, I'm stuck out here in the country trying to thaw things and keep generators running. Oh, the generators, my goodness. You saw in a previous video, Chris and Bob built the generator shed. Well, our backup generator wouldn't start. Another part of the saga. And then Bob brought his generator over and it wouldn't start. So we have 3 generators in the generator building that wouldn't start. So we finally got Bob's running, and then they finally got our backup generator running. So that's what we've been using, but the big Jenny won't run. Like, it won't keep running. Like, there was absolutely nothing that didn't go wrong, except that we have the best neighbors in the world and the best friends in the world, and they just killed themselves trying to keep me from freezing to death. And what can you say? Like, I don't even know. How do you thank people like that? How do you, like, I don't know what I would have done without these friends. Now, there's a lot of debate. The current tiny house has the Cubic Mini Grizzly wood stove in it, which I was using. The other part I forgot to mention, the propane usually comes the same day. It was 3 days before they came. So I had to come home to no heat, no water. The Jenny wouldn't run. I mean, I was just crying nonstop. Everything made me cry. I just cried about everything. I was just crying nonstop. So I slept in the living room chair trying to keep the little Cubic Mini Grizzly running. And that wood stove, I do not recommend it to people. A lot of people think, oh, it's fantastic, it's the best, it's saved my life, blah, blah, blah. It just will, we use it for supplementary heat in addition to the propane space heater, the Martin heater. It is not enough. You have to feed it every half an hour. So you can't go to sleep, you know, which I didn't. I was sleeping in the living room chair and just, you know, I would nod off, but got to feed this wood stove. And I was using my rocket heaters that I made out of the clay pots. So I was just lighting candles and keeping the fire going. And I had to keep the wood stove going in here because the propane heater in here was out. So we waited 3 days for propane, and then for 2 more days, I couldn't get the heaters restarted. I figured there was air in the lines, but I had brought Chris's phone home with me because it was almost dead and he had no charger. We were not prepared for him to be admitted, so we didn't take his stuff with us. So I've got his phone. I can't call him and ask him for help or advice, which I knew he would know what to do. So I was pushing the pilot down and clicking the clicker. And I kept doing it because I thought you got to get the air out of the line. So on Monday when we went to see him, I took his phone to him and everything. And the first thing I asked him was like, we cannot get the heaters restarted. So that was 5 days with no heat. So he said, just hold the pilot down, not the clicker, which of course, and my thumb was sore from clicking the clicker. When I got home, I held the pilot down on both the heaters for like 2 minutes and it restarted. So we had to bleed the line of air, which I understood. I figured that, but I was using the clicker too. Anyway, after 2 minutes, they restarted. So finally got that going. It still was too cold to just rely on the little heater in here, so I still had to keep the kitchen wood stove going. So, just running from one building to another, and of course Bob and Greg were over here and trying to help with keeping the solar. And then, oh, I asked the guys to put some scraps of the solid foam under the batteries because I thought it was too cold on the floor. They did that, and then for 2 days the Jenny was running, but it wasn't charging the batteries. So even running it for hours, I was still waking up in the night and the power was out. So of course the heat tape goes off and the water's still freezing. So I'm thinking something's wrong here. Something happened when the batteries were moved. So I had to ask Chris about that. So this is the other little heater, like the one in the 20-footer that we've got in here. Because we've got the wood stove there, we just leave the door open. But if we want to close this door, we've got this little heater in here to keep things from freezing up in here. So I come out here and I always tell everybody, like, I'm the designer. Like, this is Chinese to me. I do not understand any of this. It means nothing to me. But I know Chris has said, basically that one, the first battery has to hook to the second battery hooks to the third battery, third to the fourth. So if one of those isn't connected somewhere, and I don't know how the guys even got the insulation under this, I wasn't in here. So I'm staring at this little yellow button that comes up from this big cable from battery number 8. And I'm looking at the little yellow button and I'm thinking, do I push the little yellow button? Could that have something to do with it? And I don't know if you can see, there's a little yellow thing underneath here. That's a little lever that pops down if this is tripped, but it wasn't tripped. Chris said if that little lever is down, you just push it back up and everything will work, but it wasn't down. So I thought, well, I'm going to push the little yellow button, and I did. The lever popped down, I pushed it back up, and as soon as it clicked, everything started humming again. So something, our friend Sheldon said that if there was even the tiniest spark from any of this, it would trip it. But the lever wasn't down. That's the part I don't understand. Anyway, like I said, all of this is like speaking Chinese to me. So, yes, you hum. So, anyway, that's what I did. Started humming, but 2 days we ran the generators and they were not charging the batteries. Here's the generator shed that holds 3 generators. Good thing you made it a little bigger. We discussed that. It was like, just make it a little bigger. So he's got some tools in here and everything, but it'll hold 3 generators at least. So another thing Chris did, in preparation for just in case the Cummins wouldn't start, was he got this cable. It's got a 30 amp plug on this end to plug into any generator basically. And you put this box on the wall. So this cable comes out. Which one is hooked in there right now? Yeah. Oh, there's the one from the Cummins. So you basically unplug that and plug in that yellow cable goes over to here. So it's a separate cable to plug into this box to go to the batteries from this generator or this generator, and then that one is hooked into the big Cummins. So he had done that in preparation for if anything should go wrong with the Cummins, thank goodness. Because we were able to use this yellow cord to run to Bob's generator when we couldn't get this one started. And Chris also had a 100-pound propane tank in the corner to go to this. And now we've got the 30-pounder, we're just using it up. But that was a godsend as well, him having that thinking to actually do that and getting that done. My goodness. He's actually trying to thaw out the truck and the battery, or the tractor and the battery, and get that running now too, since it hasn't run for a few months now. And we've got to unload that heavy beast as well. So I think that covers just about everything. The last couple of weeks and the last couple of months. So I haven't been doing any video since we finished the greenhouse. I honestly can't remember at this point in time. I'm having trouble with my shoulders. My left elbow is completely hooped because of carrying the heavy pails of water and slings of wood, and I couldn't even lift my coffee cup. So then I couldn't use my left arm, so I was sort of overusing my right arm. Now my right arm is killing me. My shoulders and everything was hurting so bad. Well, it was before Chris went in the hospital, but we've got a little percussion massager that he uses on my shoulders, and it really does make a big difference. But he wasn't here to do that, and I was just so sore and so exhausted. And doing a lot of crying, but things are definitely a little bit brighter now. And again, like I said, I always tell people on all these off-grid pages that want to get started and everything, like I always tell them to, you know, find your tribe, and we really have here. And honestly, without the good friends that we have, both praying for Chris and just being there for us and helping in the middle of the night when I'm crying about a heater that won't run or whatever. The buddy heater wouldn't run in the tiny house, and Bob had brought his buddy heater over, and we just couldn't understand it. But the thing with the tiny house is it is spray foamed, and it is much more airtight than, you know, most buildings, stick frame buildings. And I realized after we finally got the heater running in there, well, Bob and I found some water laying on the floor. So it's like, where did that come from? But there was so much frost up inside the heater that some of it, when I got it warm in there, when we got propane, I was actually running the oven. I was heating up the oven and then turning it off and opening the door. I think I was even leaving the door open. So the carbon monoxide lady was squawking at me a couple times, just screeching, and so apparently it has a safety and it won't run if there isn't enough oxygen in the building. So we were realizing that there wasn't enough air in the building for the buddy heater to run, so it kept turning off. Otherwise I could have stayed warm. But I do not recommend the Cubic Mini Grizzly stove if you really need to rely on it. If you really have nothing else to stay alive and to stay warm, you're in trouble. And it was really, that made it really, really rough. So I don't recommend them. There's a page called smallwoodstoves.ca and or .com if you're in the States, and they have stoves that are small but not that tiny. So you need a better burn time. You need to be able to fall asleep, you know. So between the wood stove and me using the oven once I had propane, I was using up all the oxygen in the building. And so again, one morning woke up to the carbon monoxide monitor screaming. And that's why the buddy heater wouldn't run in there. So, and I know that too because I opened I'm already freezing cold, and I know I have to open the door and fill the building with fresh air. So I'm like, you know, waving the door back and forth, filling the building with the -40 air when I'm already freezing. So, and then I tried the buddy heater and it worked. So that was the issue. There wasn't enough oxygen in the building. So, didn't die from carbon monoxide either. But, you know, it was a really, really rough, I've seen a few people online, like I said, that said they got caught with their pants down, and learned a lot. I know what the little yellow button's for now. I know a lot of things. I can start the generator on my own now and make sure all the switches are flipped so that it's actually charging the batteries. So I did learn a lot, and I did accomplish a lot, and it does make me feel a little more confident. But sure don't like doing it on my own. It was rough.